I'm ready now. Hello, world. It is I for this last month of 2024. As we say goodbye to the year of strength in tarot and say hello to the year of the hermit, as far as the solar calendar is concerned, for the Gregorian calendar for the Western world. Okay, this is not the lunar calendar. This is not your personal body clock calendar. This is the calendar of the Western homogenized collective descended from Europe. Okay, so let us first find the decks that we'll be using for December's monthly read, and then the cards that I'll be pulling, obviously, for the individuals who are a part of my Patreon subscription service at the $10 level, where you get to ask a question every month when I do this monthly read afterwards. And that's sort of the cheapest way you can get a regular reading from me through Patreon at this time until I choose to do otherwise. So let me see where the deck's coming from. Okay, I just got a new deck, which I guess I have a lot of decks. Well, maybe I say that a lot more than the average person would say that, or the average reader would say. Um, but it's called The Lost Oracle by Fiona Horne. And I really like it. It's very thoughtful. It's a very thoughtful deck. So that's one of the decks we'll may it may be the only deck. Hello. It may be the only deck that we're shuffling, but let me no, there's another one. One of these guys. Okay. Toot, 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 toot. Wait. This one, interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, fascinating. We're using the Homie Ellen's deck. Oop. I haven't used it in a minute because typically I just use it for myself with words, but it is the Sacra Soul Intentional Oracle by Ellen of United Other. And so I will see what card wants to be pulled from there. The other deck is The Lost Oracle by Fiona Horne. So obviously it's Oracle decks for the December read. That's who or what, not who, that's what wants to be acknowledged for this last month of the year. And I tend to think, for me, and anyways, in my experience of being a reader, tarot with its typical 78 card system, although some tarot decks have like 79, some have a little bit more, some have less, depending on whether they include certain cards. So, in the tarot system, I tend to think that deck comes forward when there's more sort of like structural, behavioral, pattern like things that we need to address. And then, of course, the major arcana comes along, especially if you only get major arcanas. This is like has more of an oracle deck effect to me, whereas the oracle deck to me is much more about like beliefs, philosophy, understanding of reality. It's got more esoteric vibes, which is the purview of certain cards in the suits and of the major arcana in tarot. But there's a lot of people who never get major arcana cards, and there's no shame in that. But we're in a place now with society where we're being asked to believe differently about ourselves and each other and what we're capable of as a species. And interesting. The deck the Sacra Oracle just sort of slipped out when I was picking it up to shuffle. So I feel like there's a card here. Okay, so our cards are picked. Concern, opportunity, obstacle. Okay. So our concern, our opportunity, obstacle, and our advantage and our aversion for the C.O.A suit are from The Lost Oracle by Fiona Horne. The key card that we pull at the end for those who are on my Patreon at $10 level is going to be from the Sacra. I kind of believe, no, I'm not sure if it's the Sacra or the Sacra Oracle. Let's say it's the Sacra. I don't know. A long A seems more probably likely to me. By the homie Ellen of United Other is going to be the key card. So let me take a sip and let's get into it. Our concern card is Bounty of Happiness. This gift is for you. Bounty of Happiness. This gift is for you. Okay. I mean, 'tis the season, is it not? And also I think that this idea that this, okay, how shall I say this? There, a lot of human beings are socially conditioned to perceive existence from the perspective of those who have the lowest opinion of it or who have embodied sort of the lowest frequencies or the most negative frequencies of it. When I say low, I don't mean that in a classist way. I just mean like in terms of the actual energy that it carries. So this bounty of happiness, this gift is for you. Like existence is obviously what we make it. I'm writing right now my Get at the Roots Substack digest, which I typically unpack, 3 or 4 or 5 words at a time from an etymological perspective, the root, from a philological perspective, the culture that developed that particular definition or turn in the meaning of the word, and the historical and ontological perspectives, right? Like the historical perspective being who, what, when, where, why, how, and then the ontological perspective being and how, who, what, when, where, and how those people perceived. And why I say that is because, when somebody is from a culture that creates an imperative that says, because we exist as we are, it is our right or our responsibility to do XYZ onto others. When you have a cultural, socially conditioned imperative to do that kind of thing, there is a constant fixation and projection upon what is outside of you, right? As opposed to yourself. But existence gave you yourself. It didn't give you just what's outside of you, because if what was outside of you was just for you, then it would go with you everywhere you go in the way that you go with yourself everywhere that you go. So when I see this card, especially as a 3, our number of the crossroads, bounty of happiness is a concern. This gift is for you. It's important that you start to engage in your life, which is the only way that you can interact with the world from a perspective where you are actually generating a happiness. And I just posted about this actually on social media. So like alignment all the fuck away around. Okay. Because I was saying, don't work against purpose. The version of you now doesn't have to create any predictions about the future, because the version of you now is dealing with its own present, right? And it's from that present that this version of you creates and generates emotion and joy and happiness and experiences to the best of your ability that align with the feelings that you prefer to have and with the conditions you prefer to be in to the best of your ability. Okay, because emotional intelligence is about how you respond. It's not about controlling the circumstances. It's about how you respond, because an emotion is a response, right? It's a response. It's saying yes, no, maybe so. Okay. So it's important for you to understand what you require and then to do your due diligence, your very best, to put yourself in the circumstances that you require and allow existence to support you. As always, affirm through positive synchronicity, allow through neutral synchronicity, deny through negative synchronicity. And in doing that, you generate the kind of happiness that gives you a sense of purpose in life and meaning in the world. That makes you want to continue on to another day. That makes you want to be a version of yourself in a future that you would predict, which then would be a less fatalistic prediction, because the version of you who's happy now has a less fatalistic perspective in general, right? Um, you know that all my work is a vehicle to get us all to talk about nihilism and existential crisis from a perspective that is more helpful. Okay. So the book, according to Fiona Horne, this card says, I just got it right. So I'm reading from the book. It says, in a dream, you walk along a country lane at dusk. Lying in your path is a weathered wooden box with an ornate key resting in the lock. As tall, dark pines rustle and shush around you, you wonder, should you open the box? And it says, in this pivotal moment, consider this. What does your intuition whisper? Will you open it and reveal the mysteries it holds, or leave it for another's dance of destiny? Your hand reaches out and you gently grasp the key, the lock opening with a soft click. Once again, you consider whether you should open it. What is holding you back? With both hands, you raise the lid, the wood smooth and warm, resting there in plump folds of velvet and a satin. A large, radiant diamond gleams. In your life's journey, a moment of celebration beckons. Before you, a box whispers promises of treasures yet unseen. The diamond within sparkles with the brilliance of opportunity, a jewel waiting to illuminate your path. When you stand at the crossroads of a decision, consider the key cradled in your hands and let bounty of happiness remind you to unlock the box and unveil the splendor it holds. Beware of falling prey to the shadows of hesitation that would have you leave it closed for another soul to discover. The heady symphony of sacrifice may seem noble, but the music of the spheres suggests a different melody. Allow yourself to be guided towards self-compassion and the acceptance of your well-deserved rewards. The time is ripe to cast aside the shackles of self-denial and embrace the bounty before you. The diamond, a symbol of your inner brilliance and resilience, is a gift for you to claim. Reap the rewards of your endeavors, let the light of accomplishment flood your spirit, and acknowledge that this luminous treasure is rightfully yours. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, is saying it's time to bask in the glow of your achievements and enjoy the beauty of self-affirmation this brings. It is also gently insisting on letting go of the weight of self-sacrifice. Allow yourself the indulgence of reaping the rewards of your efforts. The time for celebration is now. Open the box and keep the diamond it contains. It is for you. This bounty of happiness is yours. Okay. First of all, I accept. I don't know about you, but I accept that. I could use that. So we'll just take a moment for existence to marinate on my response. Okay. Now, the opportunity, the obstacle. How are we using this? How are we using this gift of our happiness, of our ability to choose and to choose and to choose again and to choose and choose and choose and choose and choose again, right? In a negatively polarized world, you're choosing what you hate the least. In a neutrally polarized world, you're just choosing, right? You're learning through osmosis, you're fucking around and finding out. And in a positively polarized world, you're choosing what you love the most. So you never stop choosing. It's just the quality of what you end up choosing changes depending on the polarity of your perspective, because that's how you see things yourself, right? That's how things as they are present themselves to you through the perspective that you have, which will be either more, neutral, positive, or negative at any given time, depending on who you are at that time, when you are, why you are, what's happening, all those things, of course. But like that creates a code, a pattern over the course of your life. And depending on what directions you choose to veer, that pattern overall could be positive, neutral, or negative, depending on how you have chosen to perceive things, right? And you've chosen to go about the being of yourself and the having of your existence and the reality of having a self, which, yes, existentially shocking, but still the reality. So our opportunity obstacle, how are we using this concern as a elevator, a stepping stone, or as a roadblock? And we have furnace, take action. I know that's right. There we go. Furnace, take action. Okay. First of all, take action in the sense that knowing and doing is synonymous, right? What we know, we just do. So we're not sitting here saying, breathe in, breathe out, raise your arms, lower your arms, tilt your head, look at the camera. Okay. What you know you do, you just do. And it becomes synonymous with being, right? So that's the level that you show up on as yourself in the daily world. That level of knowing, meaning that you're allowing yourself to have the experiences in order to have the information, and that you're allowing yourself to have the experiences to test the information and those that information's limits, right? How far can this reality get me? How far can this truth get me? How true is this reality? How true is this perspective, right? Because also, oh, I wish I could go back. I wish I had my audio recording. It's like, oh, if I could just rewind and see what I had to say. But the reason I was saying this is because your ability to perceive what you're capable of, what's possible, what's real, what's happening, what other people and things are, what the character and the nature of existence is a completely internal project called what you allow yourself to experience. And not only what you allow yourself to experience, what you allow yourself to gather and cultivate and understand from your experience. And going into 2025, which is a hermit year, it's really important how what kind of knowledge you gather, and also and how you distill that knowledge, and also how you allow that knowledge to, how that knowledge to be true, right? Because knowing is synonymous with doing. So it's like, if that knowledge is true, then you'll allow it to be tested in the field. And with it being tested in the field and proving itself to be true, right? Knowing synonymous with doing, that the experience of presenting this knowledge, no matter how you present it and where you present it, stands up as the truth because it is verified by sources outside of you, called other individuals, places, things that help you validate whether you are in alignment with the truth of what you believe, right? So when you allow your hypothetical knowledge to be tested in the field, then, and that hypothetical knowledge stands up to the field without you manipulating the results, okay? White cis heteropatriarchy, without you manipulating the results, then it's its own proof of concept. But if the thing can't prove itself, if things continue to fly in the face of that belief, whether it's a belief you hold or not, that becomes something that you need to ask yourself about. But the take action is the how you come to asking yourself if it's true or not. Because if it's true, it will. I was like, oh my God. If it's true, it will stand up to the truth. If it's true, it will persist. It will be the reality. It will be what is. Okay. And sometimes we have a truth that is, until we reach a greater reality that tests, a greater field of reality that tests that truth. And then we recognize that there's a truth outside of that truth, right? Now, because we allowed the truth to get us to the next truth, it keeps its truthiness for the version of you that had that, right? But if you come into something that tests something that you believe, and what it does is causes you to question or doubt or wonder, and then you don't actually investigate that question or the doubt or the wonder, and ask yourself questions and do the research, and go out and have experiences that then validate whether those thoughts have basis in being those beliefs have basis in being tested, then you're creating this self-propelling engine that motivates you to be yourself, because you're testing what you know against what is your experience. And depending on how you refine what you know from your experiences, aka the hermit, the more that you refine that, the more you trust yourself to be in existence and have experiences as an aspect of existence, in existence, with existence, of existence, as existence. Okay. So, and by the way, in case you're wondering, I remembered what I forgot, and then I seamlessly put it in there. So yay past me, yay present me, and what up future me. Okay. So 14, the furnace Take action. Says, embrace the action of fire and burn away things that are weakening you or cluttering your path. While understanding fire's fury, embrace divine feminine wisdom of the sacred role that fire plays in our life. It warms a home's hearth and cooks food, even as it can even as it can also be a destructive force that could burn the entire house down if left unchecked. When furnace is drawn, it signifies that it is time for you to take action and look and let go of the things that are weighing you down and hindering your progress. Trust in your intuition to determine what needs to be burned away from you to move forward on your path. It is important to approach the process of release with gentle mindfulness and not extreme anger or fear. Remember the balancing act of fire and take some time to reflect on what you truly need and what you can let go of. This may involve releasing old habits, negative thought patterns, or even toxic relationships. Whatever it may be, trust that the universe has your back and that releasing these things will make room for new growth and opportunities. Visualize the flames of the fire burning away the old house as it simultaneously warms the hearth of the new. In the sacred art of alchemy, fire is represented by the upright triangle and is the primary method used to generate a pure substance, so pure that it can fuse the material and the spiritual in the human, providing more effective benefits of integrity and clarity. It's the inner fire, okay? The self-generating engine that I was like just talking about. It says, as you release what no longer serves you, allow yourself to feel lighter and more free. You are transmuting in accordance with alchemical principles. The fire may be hot and uncomfortable at times, but the result will be worth it. Hello, diamonds, diamonds in the rough. Okay. And it says, Furnace says to trust the bonfire of your life and let it warm you as it unites you with your spiritual destiny. Embrace the dance of destruction and creation, for through the flames you emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true path. Okay. If it's your life, if it's true to you, it will be sustainable, right? Because existence included you and it's infinite. And so whatever it includes, it has to sustain forever. And it made a you to be yourself. And that aspect, when it is authentic and true and genuine and efficient, takes up only the space that existence intended for you to take up yourself. So when you're actually inhabiting that space, shit works out for you. You know, it's like butter, baby. But when you're not in that space, or when that space changes for you because you're changing and you're not going with that and investigating that, then, you know, maybe you get in a lock pattern, or maybe you know, stepping stone or roadblock, then you get stuck. But it's about recognizing that existence is showing you more of yourself as internally based on your passions and desires, and externally based on your experience in the field and what is possible at any given time, considering existence is doing the same thing for like literally everything else within it, right? So it's like a big job, you know what I'm saying? um a job most of us don't even want to do for ourselves, let alone for everything. So, you know, humility, but also doing the work, where the etymology of work means to do, you know, doing the doing you. That's the first priority, right? I call that the existential homework, right? Yourself. So, speaking of the self, let's talk about card number 3, character. What about our character is helping or hurting us in the situation, which is called the advantage or the aversion card. I'm just going to see if it needs to change, which I doubt. It doesn't, which I doubt. And it's like, yeah. Um, And it is harvest of the heart, balance, strength, and vulnerability. I know that's right. Balance, strength, and vulnerability. Also, doesn't this look like Sagittarian to you? It looks Sagittarian to me. First of all, I just want to talk about how lovingly supportive existence is and how this message isn't you fucked up, you motherfucking fucking piece of shits, but it's like, wow, isn't it great how I included you? Isn't it great how you get to figure out who you are? Isn't it great how you get to act on what you believe and see if it's true to you and it remains true to you? And then last, harvest of the heart, balance, strength, and vulnerability. And like, isn't the experience of knowing yourself in all its rawness like amazing? And the more aligned you are with who you truly are, the more amazing it will be, of course. That's the sign of alignment, that you're not sitting there being like, why? That you're sitting there being like, yes, How? Um, Harvest of the heart, balance, strength, and vulnerability. Also, of course, let's think about like being 100% yourself. Like, this is mastery, right? Like, you can nail me to the cross. This is who I am. You can legislate against me. This is how I am. This is how I look. This is what the skin I'm in. There's so many people who have truly been about that life, like about who they truly were and are. And there are many people like that who still exist. And that is vulnerable. That is what actual vulnerability looks like. But actual vulnerability, a sustainable vulnerability, is an anti-fragility. It's a resilience. It's a I don't know. I was going to say a lack of preciousness, but it's also like an eternal preciousness. It's the contradiction of something that seems weak being actually very strong. And the strength of it is in knowing that it is strong. It's not about proving it to anybody else. It's about understanding itself. And vulnerability understands its strength, which is its vulnerability. Um, Everything's nature, everything's strength is itself, basically. And in the year of strength, that's a motherfucking bar. Okay. Harvest, back to number 2, says balance, strength, and vulnerability. From the battlefields of fate, a warrior emerges dressed in armor that speaks of resilience and fortitude. However, within the warrior resides a profound understanding of vulnerability, epitomized by the unguarded arm that symbolizes openness to safe and gentle interactions. This card calls upon you to reap the harvest of your fortitude, acknowledging the nourishment found in weathering storms and basking in the warmth of the sun. The warrior's message for you now is to comprehend the divine transformation that comes by balancing guardedness with vulnerability. As a warrior in your own life, you sometimes struggle to achieve this divine balance. If you are feeling the need to be guarded, recognize that your protective boundaries are not signs of weakness, but rather manifestations of your understanding of the delicate equilibrium between trust and emotions. Be cautious of being taken advantage of, but it is important at this time to remain open to the potential of new transformative relationships. Past pains can sculpt a warrior who refuses to let history repeat itself. But rather than shutting everyone out, it is your journey now to discerningly close the door only to those unworthy of your trust. You now understand that trust must be earned. Being cautious and guarded is not always a flaw, especially when navigating relationships with those who may not reciprocate your commitment and love, uh, who may not reciprocate your communicate and love, or who are manipulative and full of trickery. When embarking on new relationships and connections, replace your guarded feelings with an awareness of the value of patience. That's where I take your time, motherfucker. Eventually, you will encounter someone worthy of your vulnerability. When that moment arises, consider opening your heart, but only when your company and love have been earned. In times of earthly tribulations and inner and external conflict, cast your gaze up to the sky, for there lies your connection to the divine energy that is fuel for the wisdom of forgiveness. Take a deep breath and remember that every battle ends, that there is time and space to rest, and that you are now awakened to understanding how to navigate life's complexities with the wisdom of a warrior's heart, fortified in courage, balance between might and vulnerability, and intimately connected to the flow of life's ever-turning wheel of fortune. With courage meaning heart in French, there's also the fact like that the heart powers the whole body, and yet if it's exposed, it is at its most vulnerable. There's a strength in everything being in its place, and everything being in its place, meaning me being me, you being you, them being them, everyone being most authentically in their place, allows a natural protection to take place, of course. But one of my old teachers who passed away probably 2012, I think, used to say, "You don't need boundaries, you are a boundary." And I know what I've taken that to mean is if I'm 100% myself, what else can you do with me? Like if I know who I am and what I am about, and I state that to people and I make it explicit so that there's no surprises, and so I'm not like having an expectation that they read my mind. And then somebody transgresses against that boundary, I don't need to repeat myself. I don't need to prove what I've said. I need to disappear. I need to remove myself from that person, because if that is me, if I am a boundary, if that boundary is me, and I say this thing is something I don't do, then if someone tries to do that thing with me, my boundary is that since I'm someone who doesn't do that, I'm not there. I'm not there for that. I'm not there at all. I'm gone. Okay. So if I am 100% myself, I trust that I can take that action of choosing myself over someone transgressing my boundaries. And I know that in doing so, I am not only affirmed, but I am showing someone who I actually am. And that is me being, um, you know, transparent, vulnerable. That's also me being authentic to who I am at that time. If the boundary changes, I will also change, but that's not this me's business. That's future me's business. And I mind my business and they mind theirs. So that is what we need of our character, right? Courage, might, and vulnerability, and knowing the right action and when to actually exercise those perspectives, those feelings, those contexts, those energies. Now, we are moving on to the Sacra Oracle. So goodbye, YouTube. See you later. And for patrons of the monthly read, see you later. And for our homies from Doing the Most, the $10 contribution level, thank you.